Always on the May mornings, 1st of May, everyone out around the mountainside always got up really early and went out and wished everybody good luck. Whether there was anybody around them or not, they always wished the neighbours all around good luck. But if you went that morning, then you always went to any farmers or anybody that had cows or any kind of stock or anything, and you wished them all good luck. But if there was a churn there, you had to catch it and give it so many dashes of the dash or the turnover or whatever it was, for to wish him good luck, because if not, you took the luck of the butter with you.
You didn't churn on the 1st of May because the fairies would take the butter and the butter would never turn into butter. You could churn all day and it wouldn't turn into butter because to be the 1st of May and you didn't churn on the 1st of May.
On May mornings years ago, if people were, say, years ago in the country, you know, the neighbours come around and get a pint or 2 pints of milk, you know, just in a can, and that you're not supposed to sell any milk or of a May morning. That's unlucky. Yeah. That your cows won't profit for the year and things like that.
And in our place above, never allowed the cows until the 1st day of May, and they had the little fire, and they had to drive the cows through the fire every May, and because then the fairies wouldn't milk the cows in the field.
They said you wouldn't marry in May, you drew the day. That's all I do. I don't know, like, if there's any, but that was a saying, like, if you got married, you would have no luck. Things wouldn't go right anyway.
That is, you don't take the paintbrush in your hand in May to do anything.
Well, no, you never whitewashing.
May.
The 1st of May, isn't
yeah.
it?
From the 1st of May to the 1st of June. You don't whitewash in May, you whitewash all your luck away.
God, I don't know, I've seen people doing it. And then
I've seen that, and they
don't make any
even
difference.
Think of that, but I know a woman, oh my God, and 5 years down the line, if something was to happen in that woman's house, she couldn't have better luck. I seen her whitewashing in May. She'd go back and she'd point back to that.
Yeah,
So she couldn't have it. I seen her whitewashing in May, and that would be her belief.
May morning, the girls used to go out and they get the dew off the grass and they wash their face with it, and they'd have lovely complexion for the following year. The whiter you were that time, the better. Now you have to be all brown, but that time you had to be lovely and white.
But people collected the first drop of rain and made the purse. There was a cure in that. The first drop of rain. Did you ever hear that? Yeah. We used to keep that in a bottle. There was a cure in it. Yeah.
People years ago, when they were sowing the corn, they used to throw out the tran water, you know, and to sprinkle around the field.
What, the holy water?
Oh yeah, there'd be tran water, it'd be in the corn, or the corn would be getting bad in places. They used to do it. I can remember the farmer I worked with now, I have seen him doing it with the tran water.
Go to the friary, that's where I used to get the tran water, and you bring a 5-naggin bottle, well, all depending on how many fields the farmer, whoever wanted it, and you bring home the tran water, and the man then had always go from one corner of the field to the other, right across that way, and say they were father for to have good luck with the crops and to kill the trans in the land.
Poplar tree is supposed to be very unlucky. That is the tree that our Lord's cross was made out of. Poplar. It's supposed to be very, very heavy and very unlucky, and you wouldn't, if how possible, don't cut a poplar tree.
Or years ago, there was an old alder. There's 2 kind of alders.
Oh, yes, to hit someone with
if you hit an animal, yes, if you hit an animal, you have bad luck, yeah. They made out that maybe our Lord was hit with an alder or something. And I don't know whether it was alder or not now. There was another particular type of tree.
Alder, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was alder, yeah.
And there's another thing, you don't put red and white flowers together. That's a superstition among nurses. And if there was red and white flowers brought in, they changed them.
And another thing was the peacock feathers.
Yes.
You wouldn't be allowed to bring them in. They were unlucky.
There were no
peacock feathers.
I remember when I was a youngster, picking this bundle of whitethorn blossom and bringing it into my mother, as I thought was a great bunch of flowers. And she nearly brought me back with the broom, put me out of it. She said it was so unlucky. Get out with it, you know.
Yeah, I heard that story too.
Yeah.
But I remember my mother telling me about Do you know going down to Beggar?
Yeah.
Down to Beggar Lodge,
Yeah.
down to the Slowlands. And there was always a maybush there on the crossroads. And they used to dance all night out on the crossroads. They'd get a more or less a piece of used to call it a skioch or blackthorn, and just put it down it. And you collect all the egg shells that you'd use, boiled eggs from Easter, and you'd put a string through them, like, and put them all around at that old Christmas decorations, and you'd go off and pick these primroses and stuff, and you'd tie them in bunches here and there, and all on the top of this maybush, like, you know.
Oh, my mother was afraid of her life of robin, and got to be good one.
Aye,
If a robin come into the house, she'd lose her
it
life.
was a bad sign,
Bad
wasn't
sign, yeah. She
Yeah.
had an awful fear of robins.
it? Aye.
No other bird, she mind any other bird.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have a death now. That's
Yeah, you see, maybe
something would have happened.
Yeah, it was handed down.
A robin
yeah.
came in.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if she hopped around the table, that was,
yeah.
yeah. She had an honest to God now, and I couldn't. She was afraid of her life for robin.
I don't like a bird inside. I do not. Nor tipping on the window.
No, well, I wouldn't mind tipping on the window, but if a bird comes in, it's some sign of a death or something. Not so much even that it may be a death, but something is going to happen, like, you know.
If you put a jumper or blouse or anything on inside out, you don't change it. You leave it on all day, because if you change it, like, your look is gone. That's for look.
Yeah.
If you put it on inside out, you leave it that way.
Oh, I often do still.
Yeah, but
even
I
do
wouldn't
still.
change it.
But I wouldn't change
No.
it unless I was going out anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
But if I was staying in the
No.
house, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I'd leave it inside.
No, you'd leave it on.
Oh God, if you put a coat or a jumper or anything on you inside out, you'd have to, if you leave it on, you'll have good luck. You're going to win something. You're going to come up in the money line. And if you turn it, you're changing your luck. If you take it off
You'd
and
be
change
tempted
it,
to turn it, but you'd
you'd leave it as it was.
Oh, I wouldn't change my clothes for no one. What I'd put on, I'd leave on.
Yeah.
Because I know it wouldn't be right. It'd be unlucky to change. But I'd be going out and I'd leave it on all day.
You would?
I would, yeah. Yeah, oh, definitely.
Night
Of course I would.
if you put your blouse or your cardigan back to
Oh,
front,
to stay on.
Stay on,
Oh,
would
to
it?
stay on. She'd change her look. And I'll tell you another thing you shouldn't do, and I often see it done. If you went to a house, outside in our house, you see a horseshoe over the door, and the horseshoe would be turned that way, you know?
Yeah.
And the horseshoe should be turned that way. Because they were spilling their look out that way. And, yeah. And I went into a place and I told a man, I said, look, you have the horseshoe turned the wrong way, and he had a right job nailing the hook. And he said, oh no, that's the proper way. I said, no, all your look was spilling out with one, you keep turning up.
Your look was coming out
Your
around,
look was,
yeah.
I know a woman that was moving house on Saturday. It's only a couple of months ago, and I was down in Clongean, and she said, "Has Mrs. Kiley moved?" And I said, "She's moving on Saturday." Oh my God, she won't move on Saturday. And I said, "Why? If the day is fine," I said, "that's all she wants." Oh God, no, Saturday I wouldn't move into a house for Saturday. Oh God, if the day was fine, I didn't. But she was serious about it, you know. She wasn't going to.
Oh, she had that belief.
She had that
wrong,
belief,
that was
yeah.
it. We always opened the window when a person was dying to help the spirit, all right, years ago. That's gone too.
Yeah.
I
And the
remember
same on
well.
New Year's night.
The minute the person
The
died.
minute 12 o'clock would strike on a New Year's Eve, you went to the front door and you opened the door to let the new year in, and you walked straight to the back door then, and you opened the back door to let the old year out.
Well, if you died and you were a very good living person, they'd say you won't be very long on the year in the graveyard till someone come and take your place. But if you have a different make here, you could be there for 3 months, and people belong to you be supposed to leave a drink of water every week on the pier of the year to keep the thirst.
Yeah.
Keep you from getting thirsty.
You can't boil holy water, it will not boil.
Yeah, I've often heard that.
But I never tried it.
No,
I don't know.
either, but I've heard
I never
it, yeah.
tried it. But it's not supposed to boil, it won't boil for you.
If you boil holy water, it turns to blood. But I heard that, do you remember St. Bridget's well?
Yeah, you do.
There, you know, and the people used to throw coins into it.
Yeah.
And somebody was down there and they took the money out of the well. And when they got home, they hadn't a halfthing in their pocket. What they had in their pocket was gone as well.
I'll tell you a story about this. This is often told in my town's land where I lived, where I was bred, born and reared. There was a lovely well in a cemetery, in the bottom of the cemetery, the lower corner of a cemetery, and a foal died after being born, and this fella put the foal, threw the foal down in the well. And the well, when he came the next morning, the foal was in the well, but the well was dry, and it was at the far side of the river, the well, and it's still there. Whether that ever happened or not, I don't know, but I heard it so many times when I was young.
And there's another one. There was a man with a traction engine passing up a blessed well, and it was running out of water. So he got the water, they got the blessed well. He went 100 yards up the road when the engine busted up.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was into that.
Yeah.
There's a stream runs down as you're walking down to Eden Vale. About halfway down, the water runs down off of the hill, down through those trees, you know, into a little kind of a well. And there's a stone in the well, which you'd swear it was blood that's on it. So it makes out there was a priest murdered there years ago. And it was his blood, and no matter how much the water's running there all the time, but the red thing is still there, you know.
There was a house haunted over in Owlert, and it was a sister to my father, and it was a Protestant place. And this woman bought it, and she got married, and they were living in for about 6 months. And when they go to bed at night, they'd hear a door opening, and they'd hear steps going up the stairs, and they'd hear a mug falling on the floor. And that went on every night, and went up to the cures in Owlert. And the cure came down twice, and they came down first and done no good. They were still there second time. Still going on every night, and you hear the doors opening and closing. So the last time he went up, the parish priest came down, and he went in. He said, "I want everyone out of the house." So everyone went out, only himself, and he stayed about 20 minutes inside. And he walked back ways out in the door, and he had corked. He had a bottle, and he had corked the spirit in the bottle. And he came out and he said to the people, he said, "Is there a marl hole around here?" And he said there was, and he went out and he threw the bottle in the marl hole, and there never was a sound in that house after.
Bill Fulling, arrest him, he was never mind. And he always said that a black dog came down the hill of Balloch every night at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So this man said one night, he says, "The next time that bloody black dog comes down here," I says, "I'll bust him." So remember the name of Aspel, I don't know what the name, first name. But anyway, he waited this gate, and the black dog come down, and he made a kick at the dog, and his leg went up and stuck at the back of his shoulder here, and he went around on one leg for the rest of his life. That's supposed to be the truth now.
I seen a ghost. I seen one.
You will surely see it, Nelly.
I did. I see. What I tell you, my mother was a great big stout woman, a right fine woman, and she loved talking. And she used to go to this neighbour, and we had to go across fields and then out on the road, and we would come home about 10 or half 10. But she talked away until 1:30. And there was myself and Joe, Lord have mercy on her, that was my sister. And we were each side of her coming home, and we were talking coming home along the road, and my mother walked very slow. And we were going by this lane, and here we seen the ghost, and he'd no head. And every other bit of him was there, and we passed right by him. And I got such a fright I started to run, and didn't Joe start to run, and we ran, we got to this field, and we got over the ditch. And then we had to wait for our mother, and we sat down in the field, and she was about a quarter of an hour before she come, because she was a slow walker. So she came and got over the ditch, and she came to us, she said to us, "Did you see anything?" And we said we didn't. She said, "I won't be caught out anymore anyway." We stayed too late. So I did see him. There's no one, and anyone I tell it laugh at me. But I seen him all right.
I heard tell a fella being lost in a field all right, in a heavy fog. He could never get out of it. He had to wait till morning. He was walking around all night in it. Well, now, the man that told that story maybe it wasn't true either. We never know, you know.
I know a man that he was after hares, catching hares. And he was standing at this gate, and the next thing he felt like a hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he said it definitely happened. Well, so it was in a graveyard. It was.
Oh, yeah. Some fella coming back, you want to have a talk to him.
And then he caught the hare, put the hare in the bag, and about 10 minutes after, there was no hare in the bag. He gone, found the hare at all. That's why he made the one.
Some of the boys.
Yeah.
They're coming up out of the grave.
Yeah.
And he was bagging them.
That was my father.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that happened all right.
Well, Matt Nail now, Tom Roach, and were two great men with dogs after rabbits, years ago, the lamp.
Yeah,
and they went into a row up here. That's where Rahing got his name, the Ra. And they went in up down to McMurphy's Ra. And all the old fellas said, what will you do now? Don't go into the Ra.
Yeah.
They had two real good dogs. And they'll tell you that, they can tell you that still now. And they went into the Ra. And the Ra was full of rabbits. But
Yes.
the dogs wouldn't follow the rabbits in the Ra.
Yeah.
And the next thing, the two dogs started to shake and shiver. And they ran on the road. And the two dogs died about a week after.
Aye?
Yeah. And Matt will tell you that to this day now.
Mm.
So they wouldn't go near her anymore.
I heard that this man went out, he went out after rabbits. And he was out for a couple of hours. And he went around this field, but he couldn't get out of it. No way could he see where he went into it. And he went in the gate, but no way could he get out of it. And he sat down and he rested, and he said the dog started to keen he had with him. So he got up, he said, and his mother used to tell him, he used to hear stories at his own home place that if you change your coat, turn the inside out, you go out of it. And he changed his coat, and he was able to walk out of the field.
If there's a rat in a field or something like that, they don't like touching it. Because like there was a case there, Jim knew, my husband, and no, there was some case and something happened. Some fella, he mowed down the rat and he levelled off the field or something, and something, I think the poor man got cancer or something a short time after that, like. But then, like
people don't touch them.
They don't. I suppose you know.
They're left there.
Yeah, I suppose you don't think of these things till something happen if you do the thing. But then people are a bit afraid of getting rid of a rat because they say it's unlucky or something. They're there for some purpose or something.
I heard a story about down on the Kilmore Quay Road. The road had a very bad bend in it. You had to go around this tree, and seemingly the council decided to straighten the road, and they wanted to cut the tree down, and the people, everyone objected to it. And the council workers came out, and every chainsaw that went to the tree went flying in bits. It was supposed to break. No one could cut the tree down, so the road had to went around the tree. It's still there, but the tree is gone. The tree rotted eventually and fell down. Now I don't know if that's true or not.
I tell a man that ploughed around one time though, and he had a real good pair of horses, a mare heavy and foal.
Yeah.
And the old man that he got the place from said to him, "What will you do now?" He says, "Don't touch that spot in the field." So young man said, "That's bullshit." So he went on anyway, and he said to the fellow working on him, "Plough down that bank there." I said, "The old fellow says there's something there." He said, "Well, I know." Yeah. The man drove into it anyway, and the plough turned over, went through the horses' bellies, the mare would fall.
Yes, of course.
She had to be put down. The next day, the man that was doing the ploughing got, oh God, what did he get a few years ago? Not meningitis. Polio.
Yes.
And he was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. The next time he went out, the place went to fire while he was trying to plough. And the next thing, the wife died. So he packed up completely, and that spot is there in that field still for anyone to see. For never to sense. That is a fact now.
There was a graveyard up around our place, and my grandfather got a man to plough, And they used to leave a big scope all around it, you know. And sure, he got greedy and he went to plough in further. And the next morning, with the horses, one of the horses dead in the stable.
I have a story that my father told me now. That's going back a good many years ago. And where he lived in the Cools Barn Town, there was a fairy rath. And there was always quite a lot of rotten timber all around it, like, you know, because there was a good few trees around it. And there was 2 women, and one of them had a baby about 6 months, and she had it in the old-fashioned prams that time. And they went up in the rath to pick up rotten sticks for lighting the fire in the morning. And the other woman said to her, "We shouldn't go up here, we're not supposed to go up here." She says to heaven, "It'll be all right. There's lovely sticks up here." So now she had a little boy, 6 months, in the pram. And they went over she parked the pram over there, and they went over where there was a great big lot of rotten sticks, and they filled up 2 bags and brought him back. And when she went back, she got an awful fright. There was a little old withered man in the pram instead of the child. It was a real little old withered up man instead of the child. And the theory was that the fairies come and took the baby and put this other thing back there. Now, again, I'm not telling you that for truth. That was the story.
One of the things I didn't believe in was people coming back after death. And I happened to be going to the out farm one day, about around 12 o'clock in the day, and I saw this man in the yard, and I stopped and went into him. And while I was getting over the gate, he was gone. But I thought he was gone into his house. And I went to the house, a couple of the houses in the yard, and called his name, and he didn't appear. So I said to us all, "The bloody cod." You know, the man was dead 6 or 8 months at the time. And when I went out, the daughter was with me. When I went out on the road again, the daughter said to me, "Daddy, where's the man gone that was sitting on the stone there, rubbing the dog?" And that's the time I firmly believed that he was there. I thought I was seeing things, but God, when she saw him, there must have been some truth in it, you know. So that's what happened.
My mother was an O'Leary, and my grandfather used to say that when anyone with bad, you know, someone see the light will be seen, because it followed my grandfather, my great-grandfather. The light always followed O'Leary's.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was coming home, and his brother was only a young man, and he was driving home a horse and car up the road late one night, and he seen this light coming over his shoulder, and it came with him home, and in 2 days' time his brother died sudden.
Oh yeah, if anybody was going to die, if you had somebody sick and you heard about, oh, that person's going to die in a very short time.
Or someone, if you didn't know of anyone, you say someone was going to die.
Yeah, and another thing is a light. If you see a light, that's a bad sign. There's going to be a death in your family. Did you ever hear anything like that in your life? Stupid. And I know a fella did see lights, and every time he saw the light, there was a death in the family.
See, this is it, you see. There was coincidence with them, I suppose.
I heard that the boat was crying at her window one day.
Yeah.
And she was combing her hair, sitting on this window.
Big long hair down on her back.
And this fella couldn't listen right along on it, but he'd hand out the window and he gripped the comb.
Yeah.
And she roared and she bawled for 4 or 5
no.
nights anyway, and someone made this man go to the priest to see what would he do.
Yeah.
So I went to the priest anyway, and the priest said, "Hand her back the comb, but hand her back with the fire tongs."
Yeah.
Because she'd naturally take the arm off you. So eventually he did, and she broke the tongs across in the middle. So he was lucky to escape with his arm.
She was savage.
Yeah. Savage. Yeah.
I heard a story about the bow one time. This fella, he's dead now, he's dead a good few years. He was a great old character. He said that the bow used to come every Friday night to his back window, and she'd bawl away there. And she'd be combing the long hair, he said. What he said, I opened the window this night, he said I was fed up with her. And I put out my hand quick, he says, to take the comb off her. And the 4 fingers, he said, bled for 3 days from the way she scratched his hand. So he said the nails must have been a foot long on her. Whether they were or not, I don't know, but he had that story. He believed in it, so I was young at the time, I had to believe in it too. Whether it ever happened or not, I don't know.